Hello there, miners. I'm here to talk to you about a couple things today. Namely a build that I've modified since my last group of build videos, and a modification that I like a lot. Now I know, it doesn't include the new equipment we've recently gotten from management, but don't worry, that's on the way as well. I've been hard at work trying to get things ready to showcase all sorts of combos that I've had success with during missions, and I can't wait to share them with you. In the meantime, let's talk about a build that I used on my first successful Elite Karl Dive. You might remember my Spicy Rain build from a while back. You can go watch that video if you haven't. It's the third one. Spicy Rain was a build that focused on using the Burning Hell overclock in tandem with the Hot Bullets modifier in order to ignite enemies near and far, so you could use the Volatile Bullets Bulldog to delete targets with startling efficiency. Now, while that build works fine, in recent months I've changed things around to include an often overlooked modification: aggressive venting. This mod causes a burst of flame in a wide radius around you as you overheat the minigun, igniting most enemies instantly and fearing everything in range. Update 34 gave this mod a bit of a buff that reduced the cooldown time for an overheat, making the cooldown time match up with the fear time very nicely. You might see this and think, wouldn't overheating my gun be a bad thing, especially since Hot Bullets sets things on fire anyway? Well, if controlling the ignition target is important to you, then it would be better to use Hot Bullets. But the real star of the show here is the fear effect around you when an overheat happens. It feels similar to a See You in Hell use, minus the persistent fear radius, and the 666 damage. This means that if you can control when this happens, it's the perfect way to give yourself some breathing room when you're overwhelmed on all sides. In situations where you would normally use a shield to save yourself, you can overheat instead, letting you keep your shield for more dire moments. A little side note on fear, the way it works is actually pretty interesting. Inflicting fear on an enemy will force it to turn and run from the source of the effect at 1.5 times movement speed until they have reached a full 10-meter distance away. The cool part is that if a feared enemy is slowed, stunned, or frozen during this effect, it is not cancelled. Rather, it will be forced to resume its 10-meter trip until it's complete. That means that crowd control effects added to fear can be extremely effective in delaying bugs coming after you or your team. Just thought I'd let you know before we move on. Where was I? Oh yeah. The overheat burst comes with fire damage as well. This burst of heat can kill NATO sites and swarmers outright, and even eliminate grunts after a bit of time. I tested this on Hazard 5, FYI. Since the bugs are feared, you can safely ignore the grunts since the fire effect will kill them anyway, as long as you stay on the move. This is a great way to multitask enemies without devoting your attention to each one individually. Anything else is set ablaze, making the perfect target for your Volatile Bullets Bulldog. It will one-shot any burning guard or slasher, and usually 2 or 3 shot any other enemy, as long as you're hitting weak points. Minor suppressors who take 4, and maybe a little love tap. The great thing is that the quicker cooldown on the overheat now allows you the perfect amount of time to use your revolver to fire 4 bullets and reload before switching back to your minigun to continue firing. It feels great to use, it's easy to get into a rhythm with. Some other changes to the minigun include greater ammo capacity in Tier 2 and a shorter spin-up time in Tier 4. The first is merely to make up for the fact that you'll be needing to fire more to trigger the overheat when needed, meaning that the extra 600 rounds come in handy. Lighter barrel assembly in Tier 4 is actually a much better choice for the Burning Hell overclock, which I'm still using. This will allow you to use the frontal fire damage code from the overclock much sooner since it begins burning just as the first bullet fires from the barrel. You end up wasting a lot less ammo igniting close-up targets this way and lets you react faster overall. I kept the accuracy because hitting specific targets at a distance is still part of the playstyle of this build, and the stun duration increase helps you manage approaching swarms while trying to overheat. The final loadout for this minigun variant comes out to 3-1-2-2-1 with the Burning Hell overclock. I've opted to stay with the same mods as the Bulldog from the Spicy Rain build from my first video, meaning the mod config is 2-1-3-1-1 with, of course, the Volatile Bullets overclock. The only other specific thing that I choose to bring is incendiary grenades for this build. They come in handy when you absolutely must ignite something at medium range for Volatile Bullets damage. Bulk detonators are the biggest reason, since you won't have the ranged ignition abilities even though it's still possible to ignite them with the minigun using careful kiting and a well-timed overheat. Now, this build also necessitates some playstyle changes in order to maximize its effectiveness. On average, it still works like any other minigun build. killing small and medium-sized bugs in quick succession, softening the swarm for teammates to clean up. But when you want to use the overheat and utilize some free damage over time during the brief reprieve, I personally switch things up a little. Since the burning effect can kill grunts on its own, instead I will choose a tougher target with higher HP to focus on, such as a Praetorian or a guard. The damage is poured into the target to maximize the potential damage I'll be doing without wasting it on grunts that'll be dead anyway. I'll then try to position myself in the center of a group of bugs by short hopping with the minigun spun up. You don't want to lose heat by not firing, so keep bullets flying even if you have to burst fire while on the move. Once I'm in position, I'll unload on anything I can to set off the explosion, fearing and burning the maximum number of bugs and getting far more value out of the effect than I had if I had solely focused on nearby targets. Now of course, this is an optimal situation I'm talking about here. You need to be able to think on your feet and get a feel for what you can get away with so as to not take unnecessary damage or waste too much ammo. This makes for a great opener on a swarm, but you can alternatively use the overheat to simply escape. Also remember, you still have shields. Using this effect inside a shield will be just as effective, so it's a great way to extend the safety and get some more damage while you resupply. I'll warn you now, don't focus on solely triggering the aggressive venting. It's cool, but use it when you know you can get value and do so safely. Ranged enemies can still hit you, and if the swarm is too spread out, some bugs will still be able to reach you, so play it safe and rely on your instincts. Just think, what would Karl do? Okay, I know you'd probably kill the whole swarm with his pickaxe alone, but come on, you know what I mean. One other thing you can do is use the vent effect to turn Praetorians around and get shots on their weak points. The vent alone does not ignite them, but when paired with Burning Hell's close-up burning effect, it's more than enough. This lets you make risky close-range moves on Praetorians to turn the tables on them. You stun them when they're about to spray acid, move in close and burn, vent, and then switch to your Bulldog to finish them off. All the while still dealing damage to and crowd controlling the swarm around you. If you use this build to its full potential, you can handle far greater numbers of bugs than you would think is possible, at the expense of having to think a bit more about what you're doing with your weapons. This build is what I used in my first successful Elite Karl Dive. I said that before, I think. If you don't know what a Karl Dive is, it's a deep dive where you have your HUD turned off, as well as no Bosco to save you. I have a video of my first successful run here on my channel. This build served me well, giving me the ability to juggle large numbers of bugs without solely relying on my shield to save me from being overrun. Go check it out if you want to see it in action. I stream at twitch.tv/Seervend, FYI. I'll probably end up doing more Karl Dives there in the future. Subscribe if you want to see those notifications on the new build videos coming for the new weapons. I'll be rolling them out soon, as well as some other videos similar to this one. Thanks for watching, everyone. And until next time, rock and stone.
Maybe if I... that'll destabilize the compression module. Oh! What's this part do? Is this the part of the... charge shot mechanism? Could always loosen that just a little bit. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, that's not gonna work.